How's it going, you guys? So I just want to give an update real quick on some of my recent nutrition experiments and basically what's been going on with me lately. Yeah, I mean, I've been talking about it quite often since I started. Basically, I've been doing lately I've been doing about 2 hours of jujitsu about 5 days a week, on top of about an hour of strength and conditioning. For about 4 weeks, 4 weeks, up until the beginning of this week, up until 3 days ago, 4 weeks, I did a carbohydrate experiment where I was consuming about 150 to 200 grams of carbs a day on my hardest workout days, and then on days that I'm not really doing vigorous exercise, I do about 50 grams of carbs. So it's basically periodizing my carbs around my training sessions. The more volume of training that I'd be doing, the more carbs I'd eat. So for example, if I just did like 1 hour of strength and conditioning, like squats or whatever, I wouldn't really need as much carbs. It's just 1 hour of squats. People think they need carbs for fucking powerlifting. It's ridiculous. But if I was doing 1 hour of squats and then an hour, 30 minutes of interval training, and then I do, 2 hours of jujitsu later that day, then more carbs is probably a good idea. At least if you're eating, carbs in your diet and you're not keto adapted. Because if you're keto adapted, you probably don't need those carbs. So, did that, and my skill in jiu-jitsu had recently increased, so I was able to do really good in jiu-jitsu. I was able to, pretty much, from my experience, dominate most of the people in the beginners class that I was going into. Might be because my skills gotten better, might be because I'm stronger than everyone else. Also, it could have been some kind of increase from the carbs, even though everyone else is eating carbs too, But I did notice an increase in, I guess you'd say, power endurance. I noticed, for every rolling session that we did, I was able to just keep exploding, and recovering over and over again, and wasn't really out of breath very much at all. And everyone else is out of breath after the first roll. That's typical. Most people can't even do the drilling without getting out of breath. But even when I was doing keto, I was still able to perform pretty close to it. There might be a decrease in explosive power or power endurance on keto, but generally speaking, it's not too much of a detriment once you're adapted. So that's after about 2 to 4 weeks. Your body gets used to it and you're back to your baseline, and then you have the capacity to last even longer, even in explosive movements after you're adapted. But yeah, so interestingly right now, so I did the carb periodization because I really wanted to test my theory on whether, carbs can benefit athletes or not, because all these people insist that they do. So I think 4 weeks of eating that much carbs per day, probably more than enough to really see a benefit. And I did seem to see a benefit, but I don't know if it was the carbs or something else. Because once I'm keto adapted, I feel superhuman and on top of the world. So, especially if I'm drinking like legit bulletproof coffee, an hour to 30 minutes before my exercise. The only reason why I stopped bulletproof coffee is because coffee seems to cause bleeding in my gums. So that's actually the main reason why I stopped with the carb experiment, is because I noticed more inflammation in my gums, more sensitivity, and not really much like bleeding, but more so, like, it only seems to happen when I drink coffee, and I don't think that's normal. But I notice my gums are starting to recede more, and that might also be because of the toothpaste I've been using. I've been using tea tree toothpaste and tea tree products tend to cause irritation and inflammation when I use them. I have a video where I talked about curing my own staph infection in my ear a long time ago, back in 2015. And I used tea tree shampoo, but it was irritating my skin, so I had switched over to witch hazel. So yeah, it could be the tea tree toothpaste that was messing with my gums. But the other thing is, if it was carbs, you know, I've recently made a video about dental health, and I found on one of Dr. Michael Greger's videos, nutritionfacts.org. He had a video where he admitted the Stone Age diet was able to, you know, improve gum disease and put it to a complete halt, and even seemed to cause reversal of gum disease without even brushing, just eating what they called a Stone Age diet that included grains and fruits, put a halt to gum disease. So I'm wondering if it was the white rice. It could be the jasmine rice that was contributing to the you know, gum sensitivity and whatnot during my carb experiment, or it could have been the toothpaste. So I don't really know. I don't really care. But I'm going to look more into that study in particular. I'm going to look for other studies. I'm going to reread Weston Price's work so that I can really verify, you know, the effects of different types of carbohydrates on dental health. Because pretty much dentists just repeat the things they've heard. They don't actually know. They don't read studies on it. They don't even believe that those exist, unfortunately. So now this is my third day back on a keto protocol. And I've been eating mostly meat as usual, some eggs, some cheese, some broccoli. I've actually been eating broccoli, even though I don't really know if there's any benefit to that, but I just want to see. I want to see how my body reacts to, you know, keto approved vegetables. And I want to try to do, you know, the keto approach that's outlined in Stephen Finney and Jeff Volok's book with Dr. Westman, which is A New Atkins for a New You, which is a great ketogenic type of protocol, a low carb protocol, where you start under 20 grams, and it's used clinically. It's amazing when you use it with clients, you know. For example, I have some clients right now, because I've been working at a commercial gym now for over a month now, and I have obese patients, or I have obese clients that really need to lose weight, and carb restriction is ideal for them. But, you know, everybody wants to add carbs back eventually. And so adhering to this paradigm that you have to just be super strict about ketosis and never eat carbs again, and carbs are the enemy, might not be very beneficial depending on the individual. And when you're working with people, you know, in a practice of some kind with clients, you can't just tell everybody to follow keto or whatever. And the great thing about the New Atkins for New You and the Atkins approach is it starts you in ketosis, but then as your metabolic health improves, you can start to add carbs back. And I've noticed personally for fat loss and yeah, especially for fat loss and body composition and feeling good, I've noticed people tend to be able to add carbs back in depending on their metabolic health, you know, and their progress in weight loss and their activity level. So that's a big factor. That's a big part of the Atkins approach that makes it different than keto. And they do outline like a minimum requirement for vegetables, which of course, if you've been following me for a while, I've been questioning whether there's any benefit to plant foods or not, or if we need any of those nutrients in there or not. But you know, the best way to figure that out is to have firsthand experience, you know, and then try to compare it to the studies, compare it to the experts in there and what they say, and compare it to other people's real life experiences. So that's what I'm doing. Staying in ketosis, still consuming maca root. So my primary carbohydrate source is probably maca. but you know, that's only like 5 grams of net carbs per tablespoon of maca powder. And I'm taking it mostly as an adaptogen, but I kind of figure since it's a low glycemic load carb, you know, I could probably consume up to 30 grams or 30, yeah, like 30 grams of net carbs from maca root per day. And with my crazy amount of exercise, sustain ketosis. Because even after, you know, I've done an experiment where I was eating up to 70 grams of total carbs from fruit alone, and I stayed in ketosis. I had 0.8 to 1.2 millimolar per deciliter of ketones consistently, despite eating 70 grams of total carbs from fruit at one point when I was first starting ketosis, and I experimented with that. So you can still consume carbs and stay in ketosis depending on your metabolic health when your activity level is as high as mine. Anyway, my main thing is, you know, removing things that might interfere with my dental health, and obviously, you know, my sports performance is important. So since I'm still in the beginner's class, so I can really get all of the basic sweeps and submissions and positions down until they really don't want me there anymore, because I've been doing really good in the rolling, and I've been just like overtaking everybody so far. I feel like it's not fair at this point, and they're probably gonna kick me out, but staying in the beginner's class right now is good for me because, you know, I'm 3 days in again to keto adapting, and during the first 2 weeks, because, you know, I was on keto all through 2019, but after, you know, because I can eat carbs every now and then and maintain keto adaptation, but after 1 whole week, 2 whole weeks of eating high carb, I definitely notice a dip in performance when I try to go back into ketosis. So it depends on the length of time that you eat carbs and the amount of carbs you eat and the activity level. As far as dip, you know, coming out of ketosis, like if you have one cheat, you know, one day, it's probably not going to set you back too much. It could take about 3 days to get back to the benefits of keto if you've been doing it for a while. But 1 week is pushing it, especially because I did that Ray Peat diet experiment back in like June. Oh, that was horrible. And that was a lot of high glycemic load, like orange juice and whatnot. So I've been diddle-daddling with, you know, ridiculous amounts and types of carbs a lot this year. Because I spent, you know, all of 2019 in ketosis. So what that means though is my body is probably not as keto adapted as it was. So right now, I notice some performance detriments in jiu-jitsu right now, and I think that that's simply because I'm only like 3 days in. But if I just keep to the plan and I start to add some, you know, keto tea or bulletproof tea in the morning, you know, like 4 tablespoons worth of, you know, ghee and coconut oil in the morning. If I up my fats and I continue training vigorously and hard, despite the fact that I'm like 3 days in, you know, I'll adapt a lot faster. So just eating more fats to negate the calorie loss. Try to program my body to get back into ketosis, eating more coconut oil and whatnot. And training hard, because I think the keto adaptation process has to do with the demands you put upon it. Like there's these people who say, oh no, it takes 8 months before you keto adapt fully. You know, and they're all feeling like crap the whole time, and they say the workouts suck. I think a lot of these people, they take so long to get their performance back because they stopped training hard. Because what I found when I first did the carnivore diet, for example, is I kept getting PRs, and I was just getting stronger and stronger from week 1 with a hip injury, and that hip injury went away within days after starting carnivore, probably because of removing nightshades. So I feel like right now I just gotta tough it out, and it's gonna suck probably for a couple days, but the harder I go during this time, the faster the transition will be. So I'll keep you guys updated. You know, I'm still doing my strength and conditioning, but my jiu-jitsu right now is, you know, about 2 hours a day now, and I'm gonna try to maintain at 5 days a week. But the other part of this is that I'm also doing training. You know, I'm training clients at a gym, and so my schedule is a lot more hectic. Because when I was doing independent training, I was, you know, when you do independent training, you make more money typically. But so I got a full schedule at this commercial gym. I got a full schedule, and I'm, you know, pretty booked, pretty busy. So, you know, I got a full schedule of clients, and then outside of training clients, I have to, you know, make their exercise programs and maintain the schedule and deal with stuff like that. And so it can be pretty hectic, because especially the other thing is in the middle of training somebody, you know, I might be training, you know, clients at the gym, and I might be getting texts from another client where they're trying to do the exercise program that I wrote for them, but they don't know how to do a certain, like they don't know what a drop set is or something. So they text me, and I'm too busy to reply. You know, so it's a lot of, you know, maintenance in and out of the gym. So it's good stuff though. And the fact that I work at a gym, I'm able to, you know, slip some strength and conditioning workouts, you know, in between. So another thing is I started taking Rhodiola, but, you know, again, even though I had a bad experience with it earlier this year, but this time I'm taking Life Extension brand, which is a pretty reputable company, and I'm taking an actual extract rather than like the full spectrum whole leaf concentrate that I was taking before, or whole root concentrate. Now I'm taking an actual extract that's standardized to a specific concentration of the active ingredients, rosavins and solidides or whatever. So we'll see. Today I'm up to about 500 milligrams twice a day. Before I was only taking 250 milligrams twice a day. So we'll see. I don't really notice the fatigue effects that I was experiencing before with the other brand, but I'm not entirely sure yet. It's been about 2 weeks maybe that I started taking the Rhodiola, so we'll see as the weeks go along. Then when I remove it from my regime for about a week, we'll see the difference in how I feel. I definitely feel like it's calmed like racing thoughts, to where I don't overthink things. Yesterday I tried a day without the Rhodiola, and I noticed I was a bit more anxious and more confused and back and forth with my thoughts. So, because my mind, a lot of times it can be like a tornado, like a whirlwind of various thoughts all being tossed around, you know, back and forth all around. I'm like, whoa, whoa. And it takes certain conscious mechanisms to maintain and control and channel. Rhodiola seems to help. So that's pretty much it for now. I've got to get home and get to jiu-jitsu. So leave a question, comments down below, and if there's anything you want to know about my, you know, changes in my life and things, anything I haven't touched on that you're curious about, let me know. Talk to y'all next time.